Yoza and sup to up to the silly Kiwi Millennial podcast. It's your biggity boy, the man, similar to the Scotty Mills from South Auckland, currently residing in Chile. And I am here for another episode to catch up with big bonds, big cons in Netherlands, from Onehunga, Stoneyhunga to Netherlands. Big bonds. How is 2018? We are 2 months into 2018. How are you trucking along? How's the snow? How's the winter?
That's good, man. That's good, man. That's real good. The sun's come out today. That's really nice. Always talking about the weather. It's very cold though. Apparently it's going to go down to -10 next week. Not that anyone asked, but it's going to be freezing, and that's February, March weather for you in the Northern Hemisphere. Great stuff.
After spending like 10 minutes in a previous episode just ripping into people who always refer back to the weather, my first question's for you. Well, my second question was in reference to the weather.
Yeah.
Like I've just fucked up there. Like I'm just going against my what grinds my gears. I've fallen into the trap.
It's not a trap, mate. It's a nice place to be.
It's the way of the world. How's the weather?
Yeah, man. But, it's a shared experience, man, And we love sharing experiences here at the Silly Kiwi Millennial podcast.
Is there are the sunny days nice and crisp? Like, is it, how like you get a nice winter's day or a nice autumn day where it's chilly, but there's just beautiful sun out, the grass is lush, everything just looks crisp and lively.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's very picturesque. It's really quite beautiful to look at, but as soon as you go outside, it's freezing. And one thing I discovered is that I get really dry hands in the winter, and my skin was starting to crack on my knuckles and actually bleeding a bit, weeping. Quite a disgusting description to hear, but that's what cold weather can do to you.
What the fuck?
Yeah, man. Riding, you gotta wear gloves if you're riding bikes, because the wind just whips your hands, lashes your hands as you're holding the handlebars, driving down Main Street.
Are you riding too fast, or is it the wind that goes too fast?
Combination of both. Also probably because I'm riding dirty. No lights, man. No lights at nighttime. Back home you'd be chastised for riding a bike with no lights, no vest, no helmet. Over here, just get away with it. Safe and sound.
What sort of bike are you rocking with?
Home.
Are you rocking the BMX? Are you rocking the mountain bike? Are you rocking the like hipster? I think they call them fixies. Like, what's your steez on the bike?
I'm actually in possession of a 8-speed Shimano, teal and grey, with front and rear brakes, very poor suspension, broken headlight, and no saddlebags or anything to help me carry stuff. So it's really a to B mechanism, and not much for carrying anything along the way. A lot of backpack gang around Amsterdam. It's a very necessary part of the lifestyle here, having a backpack to carry your belongings as you transport yourself from one location to another on a bicycle.
But you got suspension. You're talking shit about your own bike, but you got suspension.
Yeah, it's pretty shit suspension. There's a lot of uneven surfaces. I mean, not uneven surfaces, but a lot of paved cycleways, and there's a lot of bumpity bumps along the road, and you got especially speed bumps as well, even for the bikes. So there's a lot of bracing yourself on the pedals and sort of popping your caboose off the seat so you don't get a dug 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 when you go over things.
Old K-Dot reference there. That just reminded me of our extravaganza journey on the bicycles in Cambodia. And we've got quite a long history with bicycles. So I think bicycles might be a common thread throughout the Silly Kiwi Millennial podcast. And I would have fucking loved to have had some suspension on that bicycle journey back in Cambodia, because that, like, I could barely walk after that bike ride. Granted, we rode for about 3 hours, but and so like I would have been in pain afterwards, even if I had an amazing bike. But jeepers creepers, whatever fucking bike we were riding did not do the rear end any help.
That was a long bike ride, and it was really hot. That was a beating sun coming down on us.
But that's one of my favorite things to do, is just to head off on a journey and not know where you're going, and then everywhere you go is like a new place. Like, you don't know, you're not referring to the map, oh, we need to take a right here, take a left here. It was all just like following our senses and following our intuition, which could have definitely got us into a few spots of bother, but we just rode, we just went.
Had a similar experience over here. We're using one of my girlfriend's relatives' scooter. So only goes up to like 40 k's an hour. You're allowed to ride in the bike lanes, and we were trying to get somewhere, and we almost ended up on the motorway where cars are going a lot faster than 40 k's. And then we pulled off into the berm, and we were like, man, how do we get out of here? Can we just like push the way through the grass or the bush? And then we look, and there's like canals on both sides, and like, fuck. So to like cross this like speeding traffic, get onto the other side, like hold up traffic while we trucked almost like a K at 40 k's with cars like right up our ass. But a definite learning experience, where recognizing the different road signs, and just like stopping and taking a look at how fast the car is traveling, and being like, that's a lot faster than we can travel. Maybe we shouldn't go on that road right now.
Well, it's all being observant, being aware of what's happening around you, how the scenery is changing, or as you said, how fast the cars are going. Sorry, not the cows.
All the cows, yeah.
Yeah, the cows. If you're seeing cows, you're in an interesting place as well. But I think there's lessons to be learned there, than going off on a journey and being aware of your surroundings and being in the moment, so you can be aware of your surroundings, and then taking that in. Because if your mind's drifting off somewhere else, and if you're not living in that moment at that particular time, thinking about what you're going to have for dinner, thinking about what you're doing next week, suddenly you are driving past cows and you've got no fucking clue where you are. Or you're on the motorway risking your life.
Yeah, it's definitely something that people can get caught up in the moment and sort of forget where they are. And often, you start looking ahead or looking behind and not realizing that you are, in fact, on the motorway and not somewhere safe or enjoyable. So it's definitely there's a time and place to, take a step back and assess your situation and work out how far you have to go or how far you've come.
And try to get a bike with suspension, especially if you're going on dirt roads in Cambodia.
Yeah. On the upside, it was pretty flat in Cambodia, as I remember. So that was a definite benefit.
I don't think the seats were too cushioned either. They were
bare bones, mate.
Yeah. And then I've got a slight memory of when we gave those bikes back, and like one of our bikes was just fucked up, like the chain was broken or something like that. And it was just like they looked at it and they like asked you, and you're like, I think it was me, but it was just like, I don't know, and then walk off. Like, just hope that like something happens. But I definitely remember there being a problem. I think it was my bike. There was just like the chain was broken or something just wasn't working. I was like, well, that's your problem now, mate. I've just fucking rode around your city for a couple of hours and I don't want to deal with it.
Typical colonizer right there.
Fuck this. Fuck this noise. The 2018 has begun, and I don't know when the last time we talked was. Was it? It was just after the start of the year, early January, and we are now moving into a late February, into March, and it's been a. I don't know about you, Mr. Bonds, but for me, it's been an interesting time. Just if my excursion to Chile was like a burger, I'm into the like patties, numerous patties. I'm chowing through those patties because I'm chowing through the experience, which upon reflection was why I wanted to put myself in this position. And I think, and that, like, I'll just outline that before explaining a bit more, like just not knowing what the future holds, but fully understanding that everything is going to work out, and it's going to work out in a glorious fashion, and trusting everything around you as well as yourself that things work out. So that's like, because in Chile, basically got a 2-month vacation, January and February, everything around me is shut down, and like I don't have enough money to go and do like actual tourist shit, that like cool stuff that you want to do when you're traveling. So I can't do any of that. I'm waiting for little like hockey coaching gigs to start up again when school starts up again, and a lot of other weird shits happen, not like bad stuff, but just like, say someone you usually see quite frequently, you don't see them anymore because they're on vacation or they're working a lot. So like, it's all those things are happening. There's numerous other examples, but I won't bore you with the details. But it was kind of like, not only is it the trusting that the future will play out in a favorable manner, because I don't have much money now and I'm like trusting that they will all figure itself out, but the other key thing for me was, again, living in the moment to the extent where I understood and I was aware of what was happening around me, not in terms of seeing cows and cars drive by very fast, but in a weird way where I could sense what I needed to do. And because everything stopped around me, in terms of opportunities, in terms of things to do, everything just dried up. And I was like, instead of fighting that, instead of going against that, everything I've learned about myself and to some extent how the universe works, I was like, okay, let's roll with that, let's ride that wave and just go within and really use it as an opportunity to learn about yourself, learn about different things, make changes. Changes has been something I really want to talk about later on as well, because having made so many changes, I feel like a completely different human being. But using this time period where the universe, whatever it is telling me to slow down and focus on myself, understanding that, recognizing that, being aware of that, and actually putting that into action to come full circle. I reckon that's like why I came to Chile, was for this moment where I am fully trusting the universe. I'm fully trusting this experience that it will play out in a positive fashion, which is something new for me because I like to be in control. I like to have control over those sort of matters. And then as well, having the opportunity to go super duper deep within and not like figure out who I am, but just refresh, reinvigorate my soul, my spirit, find a purpose, find passions, and really kind of realign myself with my purpose and stuff like that. So it's been, I don't know where you want to jump off from that, but that's kind of been my last 2 and 3 months, is just working through that, which for me it's a precarious position because materialistically, sorry, like you're on the verge of just like shutting down. Like I've literally got like nothing. But overall, it's a fantastic position to be in because I think it's like preparing me for this next stage, and I am fully aware of how awesome I can make 2018 from this experience. And I feel like that's the patties of it is learning about myself, learning how to trust the universe, and preparing me to jump off into 2018. So go whichever angle you want to go in, but just go somewhere from that.
Yeah. No, that's cool. It's interesting to hear you explain what's been going on since we haven't talked in a while. I have a couple of questions that I want to ask you. Like, first of all, if it was 2016 Scott in the same position, or 2014, any earlier, do you think you would have come out the other side in the same way? And also, do you feel like it sounds like you've learnt from the experience and you're preparing. Do you feel like you've reached the end of that now and you're well equipped to take on, engage with whatever else is coming your way? Is that the position where you are now?
Yeah, so if this was a previous incarnation of me, like, I actually think, like, talking about Cambodia, there's like two me's. There's a me before Cambodia and a me after Cambodia. And so, like, if it was something before Cambodia or closer to that Cambodian experience, even after it, I'll just be shitting my pants right now. I'll be so scared. I'll be like, I'm scared, but it's a positive scared. And I wouldn't be in this position right now because I would have tried to like control everything, and that would have put me in a different position instead of going with the flow. And because I went with the flow and I rode the wave of whatever was happening in my universe, in the greater universe, I've come to this point where I am fully at peace with myself. I've adjusted a few, like, not only have I made changes in how I do things, but I've made changes in what I view as my passions. I actually feel like I've figured out what I love to do and how I want to, like, my guiding stars in life sort of stuff, where you like, what is it that I ultimately want to live by? So if it was a previous incarnation of me, 2016, 2014, whatever it is, I simply wouldn't have learnt what I needed to learn, because every step of the way I would have tried to control minor situations. And then each of those moments, like, it's the sort of thing, like, if you go down to the shops right now, you could meet someone, you could get hit by a car, any set of events could happen to you at any given moment based on the decision you make at that very second, which is an absolute ridiculous thought to even comprehend. But if I had chosen controlling emotions or controlling actions in any of those moments, I would have taken a very different path, I reckon. So I don't think I would have learned what I needed to learn. And what was the second question? Learning.
So you've learnt all that, and are you out of, you've sort of, that section has ended now, and you're well equipped to, are you now at the stage where you're just preparing? So you've learnt all you needed to learn for now, you have all the skills to pursue the path for the rest of the year that you want to take? Is that the stage you are at now?
Yeah, so there's a few different levels to that, because I guess in my greater enlightenment journey, at various stages, I've like told myself, like, I'm ready for the next step, and then it turns out like, nah, you've got a shitload more to learn. So that kind of influences me to think like, you're never ready. But in the other way, you got to be like, I think at each moment, I do think I'm ready, whether it's for ready to get what I want to get, or whether it's just being ready to take the next step and learn more. So I do think I'm ready for whatever is next, and being prepared and equipped to deal with whatever is next. And in terms of being prepared, like I sort of feel like a caged animal, because like I feel like I'm so ready, but then my situation is still like confining me, like my circumstance is confining this, like to keep going with the metaphor, this beast. Like I feel like I'm like confined to my current circumstance, which there's a rapper named Lute who's from Dreamville under J. Cole, and he's got a line that always resonates with me, and it's, I'm just a human, never defined by circumstance. So in that regard, being confined by my circumstance doesn't define me. It's, the person that I am. But I do feel, in terms of being prepared, I feel like I'm so prepared that it's like I'm just ready to fucking just burst out and explode. And all that energy is like kind of frustrating, because I feel like I'm so ready, but I'm not like in a position to put that readiness to action, which then I reflected on this as well, is teaching me about patience. Like I've huge proponent of patience, whether it's learning from Gary Vaynerchuk about patience, or even before that, certain ventures I've done, certain missions I've been on in life. I've always been about slow cooking. I've always been about patience, because that's where you get the best results. And so in the same sort of vein as being ready, I've always thought I've been ready, and I've always preached patience in different aspects of life. But now I've got a slightly different perception of patience, because I feel I'm prepared. I feel I'm ready. And if you take the like essence, the feeling of what the words caged animal mean, like how do you, like when you picture a caged animal, when the cage door opens, you're imagining like the animal, the beast, the monster coming out and just rawr, because of all the pent up feeling and emotions and adrenaline. Whereas I'm like, after getting to that caged animal point, I was like, yeah, but when the moments happen that you have been waiting for, you could blow all those moments by coming out of the cage like a caged animal. But if you patiently wait and you patiently execute when those opportunities present themselves, then you're opening further doors to opportunity. So another way of saying it would be, one door is an opportunity. You open the door, you step through the door, and you calmly step through the door, do what needs to be done, and then 5 more doors present themselves. But if you go up to the door of opportunity and you rip the door down and like blow the door up, well, there's nothing after that door, because you've just like used all that pent up feeling and preparedness to rip apart that door of opportunity. So that's kind of where I'm at now, where I've learned to execute a level of patience and just like a focus and clinical execution, instead of maybe a few days or a week or so ago, I was like, fuck, I'm ready, I'm a caged animal, and like whatever comes my way, I'm going to jump it. Whereas now I'm just like cool, calm, and a bit more precise in terms of making moves that I know will work. And then from that, like that's kind of finished answering the questions, so you can respond to that, sorry.
No, that's all good. That's interesting, because you talk about patience and being prepared, and I mean, I think there's a thin line between being patient and also waiting. Like a lot of people think sort of wait for opportunities or wait for things to happen without, taking up the smaller ones that appear in front of them. They sort of keep waiting for the big fish when really there were like, some decent smaller, medium-sized fish that were legal that you could have caught that entire time to make your haul bigger. And I think some people get caught up in the dream and think that it's like a lottery ticket, it's a one big show, and then I'll become a famous rapper, or one good game and I'll crack NRL. And so I think people forget about all that hard work that goes on in the background, and that when you're talking about being patient and learning, preparing yourself, so when the opportunity comes, you take it. Some people confuse that for waiting and just waiting for something to happen and not ever being prepared for when the opportunity comes, or the opportunity never comes because you're just waiting. And it's that thing where opportunities multiply as they're seized, so that, as soon as you, walk through one door, another door opens, or if one door closes, another door opens behind you. I've learned in my life at the moment, I've moved away a lot from being patient. Waiting. So I'm still a patient person, but less of waiting and more action taking, where just putting yourself out there and trying things you want to do, that you always have an end dream goal, sort of, yeah, like a dream that you're heading towards. And the path might not be direct, and might not be a direct flight. You might have a few stopovers in lots of different countries, but as long as you're heading in the right direction, it doesn't matter if you go a little bit sideways on an angle. Like, you're still not in the same spot you were. And it's the people who sit on the same spot and look at, the dream destination and just sit there and complain about it and say, yeah, I'm ready, I'm waiting. Nothing ever changes for them. So I think that's just something you need to be wary of. There's a difference between waiting and being patient, which, I feel a lot of people sort of confuse the two, and then, blame it on circumstance or get mad at the world when things aren't happening for them. Well, it's like Nutrigrain. You only get out what you put in, But that's exactly it. Like, you can't expect, the glory without putting the hard work in to begin with. And patience is part of the hard work, which is not the same as waiting for something to happen. And that was the whole point of what I was trying to say.
That's super interesting, because I would say the difference between patience and waiting for me in this current context is the circumstances all the same, the situation is all the same. But I think because I have made, incremental changes, minor and major, and I've put effort into learning about myself, into trusting situations, into finding new ways of doing things, like making changes. When I thought about that and I learned you got to make some changes here and there, when I thought what changes can I make? That was a fucking hard question. I don't those changes. I didn't plan on making any of the changes I had, whether it is waking up at 5 a.m., which is a change I made, and making sure that I have time to meditate, practice Spanish, making sure that I have time in my day to do yoga, making sure that I have put time and thought into what it is I actually want to do. Because I feel like I've put the hard work into those aspects of life, I feel it's a lot different to going through the same situation and not using it as some tool for growth, which is, I think, ultimately that is aligning me with the patience sort of vibe, because it's put me in this position where I'm at now, where I know whatever opportunity presents itself, I am in the best position that I can be to make the most of that opportunity. Whereas before, I might not have trusted myself, or I would have, if I had just waited and I had just waited out that time period, then I think I would, well, I don't know what I'd do, because I only know like where I'm at now, and that I confidently feel that I am in the best position that I can be within myself to move forward. And whatever moving forward means, for me, the difference between patience and waiting is that I have put in the work to get to this point where I'm fully confident in that work that I've done. And like, Jesus Christ. Like in the past, that work has been like tangible. It's been, I need to do this, and this. Like, if you're preparing for a sport, you need to get out there and do the action. You need to put in the work on the field. You need to, if you're writing songs, if you're a singer, you need to actually write songs. Like, there's a tangible work. And I've always approached hard work as that sort of mindset, which is a buzzy thought that I'm just like processing right now as we speak, live and direct. Like, this period has actually been more about doing the hard work on myself, and not necessarily like doing the hard work exercising, or doing the hard work even practicing yoga, doing the hard work meditating, which may help. But in terms of there's an actual tangible action to the hard work, working 7 days a week, that sort of, you know what the hard work is. Whereas hard work on yourself, it's far more difficult to define, to like even describe right now. There's not like a tangible aspect to it, but I am like 3,000% confident that I have put the hard work in on myself. And even processing that you can put in hard work on yourself, like that's a weird thought as well. So for me, that's just ultimately I feel like I've put in the hard work on myself to put myself in the best position approaching the future.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Good to hear that. I feel similar to you, coming from leaving New Zealand, like just doing labor jobs, working, 6 days a week, and then, being like, yeah, I can work hard. This is working hard. And then coming here, having not having a job for a while, and sort of being left to reflect on yourself. And then it's quite daunting and mentally exhausting to, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, what am I not happy with? What do I want to improve? What makes me passionate? What are the things that make me passionate? And then how do I go about, reaching those from, internally? Finding the things that motivate you can be quite difficult, as well as bringing up things that you're not confident about and that you want to make yourself confident about. Those are really tough questions and tasks to do. I feel, coming here, there's been a lot of looking inward, and sort of with the help of with the help of a different environment and different culture, different people, it's sort of forced, that talked about that pushing out of your comfort zone and putting yourself in an area you're not comfortable with, and that allowing for growth. And I think that's what's happened for me personally. The moving away from home, living in another country where they speak English, but they also speak another language much better. And it's sort of forced me to either adapt, learn, grow, or stay the same and wait and be miserable, and nothing would really happen. And all the opportunities that have come to me in the Netherlands have been the result of putting myself out there, putting myself out of the comfort zone, interacting with people, doing things that back home I wouldn't have needed to do, or even wanted to do, or even thought about doing. So a powerful tool that everyone has, that you can always work hard on yourself, and it doesn't always need to be something, like you said, tangible or physical that can produce results. It can also be, you know, working on your mentality and your inner attributes that you want to, redefine or, define more and make stronger and improve on. So I think that's a really powerful lesson that we're sharing at the moment. You can always work hard on yourself just as well as the traditional sense of hard work.
Yeah, we've both taken a step, like an active step in moving towards that, and in going to another country, putting ourselves out of our comfort zone, which we talk about quite often. And then there's kind of like there's like a box within that box for me. I'm not talking about comfort boxes or stepping outside the box or whatever, but there's two layers to it, I guess. There's the layer where there's a layer where you're like actively putting yourself in a situation to learn about yourself, which is actively going to another country. And then from that, so like for me, I've done that and going to Chile, and I thought I'd, done pretty well and blah, blah, blah. But then from there, there's like something that I could not control. The only thing I could control or can control is how I respond to the being put in a different situation. So I viewed it as the universe forcing me to go through that period. It's not even I definitely wouldn't view it as a tough period. It's just a period where the only option, well, not the only option, but one option is to fully go within myself and use that period to my benefit. So on the one layer, you have actively going out and pursuing challenges and pursuing knowledge and growth and all that stuff. But the key factor is that you are actively pursuing it. And then another layer is life presents certain events, or in this case, a lack of events, and how you respond to it is that step of growth and development. So I trusted my intuition, I trusted my gut, I trusted my understanding, and trusted that everything was happening for a purpose, for a reason. Very cliche, but it's true. I viewed it as all happening for a reason, and I needed to just ride that wave and go with what was being presented to me, but make the effort to work hard on myself and make the effort to make certain changes. And it's another weird thought that I've been processing is how I feel like a completely different human. So I feel like I've changed dramatically through or because of making a lot of small changes that are really like insignificant. Like I just feel like, so whether it's making the effort every day to wake up at 5 a.m. And that started because on the one hand, I wanted to have more time in my day. So I definitely love to sleep. I love to sleep in, but I've made a conscious effort to expand my day. But from that, like right now, I don't have anything to actually do in my day other than, write a few blog posts, make a few videos. And so I've got like heaps of time spare. But then, so I used to wake up like 7, then I was like, fuck, like I need more time. So then I pushed it back to 6. And then during this period, I was like I need to like really push myself during the day or I'm not going to be able to sleep. Like I'm literally not really doing anything with my day. So then you can't sleep because you haven't put the effort into the day, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, let's just wake up at 5 a.m. So I'm like automatically tired, but I'm not tired when I wake up, but I'm tired when it's, nighttime. And then from there, I exercise harder. So I make sure that I've that's what I'm saying. Like, these changes are so minor. So it's waking up a bit earlier. It's changing my little exercise routine and putting more effort into that. It's, maybe I go for a run. It's how do I spend my time? I used to be able to write 2 or 3 things a day for like sports blog posts, and through an elongated process, I realized that I kind of prefer I love other things a bit more than I love doing that, but I still enjoy it. But I need to make room for those other things. So now I feel a lot more comfortable only writing one thing, whereas I used to feel real insecure about that. I used to be like, nah, I got to work harder. So now I'll max write one thing a day, and I feel more comfortable in having more days where I don't actually write anything. So it's like little changes, little tweaks in my day, putting more effort into learning Spanish, changing how I eat as well. All those little changes add up into me feeling like a greater change has happened. It's not like I've changed anything drastically, but I have kind of intuitively, through different experiences and just knowing that I needed to make changes, I have made a whole lot of minor changes in how I go about my business, even how I think. Still trying to work on that one, but just more smaller changes that I think have added up into one big change in me, and that change has me better prepared moving forward.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that a lot of people just think it's, a big event, one significant change and my life will be changed. Like the lottery ticket mindset. If I just get this one lottery ticket, all my problems will be solved. Where making a few adjustments and consistency is key, but all the little things add up. And, it's like successful business owners and stuff, yeah, they're like, can be penny counters and stuff, but it's those little transactions, little savings here and there that add up to a greater picture. It's, the one percenters that all the top athletes in the world do, the little things, subtle things they change, and then all that, the fans notice is like, wow, he did that amazing play on the field, or she did that amazing play and won them the game. But it's all the little things that they're doing behind the scenes, personal things, decisions they've made in their life that contribute to the greater overall picture. And I think for me, it ebbs and flows. It's something that I would like to make more consistent, like having little changes and just evaluating them and the other things I'm doing in my life. Because right now the overarching theme, issue is that we had to find a new place to live. So we're moving out this weekend. We found a place for a month and a half, which is great. It's a lot cheaper, but I felt like that distracted me from doing a lot of the little things that were adding to my character, adding to my, my well-being. And, got slack on cooking, wasn't exercising as much, and just a lot of mindless watching of videos and fucking around the house, like leaving the dishes for, 2 days, 3 days. And so, like, working on the little things is great, and I think that's something that we can all do. Everyone can do it, and to be proud of the little efforts that you're changing about yourself, trying to improve, it's great. And it's just, you've got to be careful when you hit a roadblock or something, a big challenge is thrown your way, to not forget about the little things that you were doing, because those were actually improving you, like improving your overall image. I mean, your personal image to yourself, like, and your well-being. And it's just when, you get a curveball thrown your way that it's sort of, like, oh, this thing's too big, I'll drop this little thing and this other little thing. Because when you drop each little thing, before you know it, you've lost, heaps. And you're just like, man, I've taken such a step backwards, and I thought it was just a little thing that I'd overlooked, when really it's all these little things that are adding up to make you a better version of yourself. And the moment that you start letting those little things go is when you actually lose a really big part of yourself. So I think that just people in general could pay attention a lot more to the little things and take pride in achieving those little things, and just be consistent with it. And then before you know it, you'll see the big change, because when you let them go, you'll see a big change, but it won't be one that you're very happy with. Yeah.
Was fucking hell, I don't even know what to say. As you said, it's not like a moment. It's not like a one single moment. So if you don't handle those little things, or if you don't make the right changes. So if you're not executing like a certain, like as you said, consistency is key, and you earn consistency through discipline, through self-discipline, through ensuring that you handle your business every single day. And business, not in a business sense, just business in terms of handle your bizzo. But you need to have discipline to have consistency, and that it doesn't lead up to a single moment. It doesn't lead up to a single change or a single, on a negative flip, it doesn't lead up to a single moment of disintegration. That disintegration happens over a period of time. Suddenly you're not eating healthy, and 6 months later you're fat. Like, it's not like you just wake up one day and you're fat. You realize that your mind flips one day, and then you start to realize that over a period of time you have gone through a disintegration period. And so it's not like, it's important to understand that you're not working through those, you're not working through that discipline, that consistency, and putting out a positive energy leading up to one single moment. All those things add up, and then you start to see a progression. You start to see a progression over time. And I think just as importantly as like something happening to you, is same with the like getting fat. Like it may just be that those things lead to your perception of certain events changing. So with the getting fat example, like you've been getting fat over a long period of time, but then one day you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm fat. What's going on? I need to change that. But then on a positive flip, you, over a period of time, because you've been consistent or because you've handled aspects of your life in a good fashion, then you just start looking at different situations with a different mindset. And then from that, you might approach an opportunity, or you might approach an interaction with someone, or you might draw in an opportunity. You might draw in a certain interaction, and from there something good happens to you, and from that something else happens to you. But that's because over a period of time you've taken care of your actions, and then from your actions you've had a better positive mindset, and then from that positive mindset you start to view certain situations differently, and it just flows on and flows on.
Powerful stuff, man. Yeah, I think, even how we've been a bit slack on the podcast. It's really the little efforts that we're putting in to other, into yourself to do things during your day, and before you know it, you've climbed a mountain, you've hiked a trail, you've biked for 3 hours through Cambodia, like.
That's the just something to finish with is I've used that time to kind of suss out like what I view as like my actual purpose, and I think finding, again, it goes back to something we talk about quite often, is the why, not worrying about the how but worrying about the why, and using that time to figure out what ultimately, like, what am I here for. And I think that for everyone listening, that can be such a just an interesting, like, I don't want to put any other word on it, but just interesting way to look at your life, because it just gets you thinking. Like, there's no, again, I don't want to put any words on it, because it's solely based upon getting you thinking about your existence. Because, like, when you think about it, like, if you don't have a purpose, like, what is the actual point of you being alive? Like, why are you alive? Why are you using this oxygen? Why are you, like, using food or water that could go to someone with a purpose? That's a very harsh way of approaching it, but like, if you actually don't have a purpose, or you don't understand your purpose, what is the point of you existing? So I think from that, if you take time for yourself to think about, like, what is my purpose, suddenly you're getting the ball rolling. You don't actually, like, whether it's a case of you actually finding your purpose, or whether it's a case of you just putting energy and thought into it, as long as you start the process and ask yourself, like, what is my purpose? What is the reason I am here? And, like, you don't need to have any, like, major spiritual experience to do that, because, like, as long as you put out the energy and direct energy towards finding your purpose, it will come back to you. Like, it's not like you need to take any crazy psychedelic or anything. You just literally need to ask yourself, like, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And then you start to assess pretty much everything in your life. And it's kind of crazy, like, how that one question can change just everything. Like, it can change, like, why am I studying this degree? Why am I going to the gym 5 times a week? Why am I playing video games? How do these things, why am I eating healthy? How do these things align with my purpose? So, just from my experience, figuring out, what is my purpose? And I'd love to say that I've, like, genuinely figured that out, because recently I came to a conclusion that I had found my purpose, and this purpose, well, this is actually like point B, because A, you need to find your purpose, and B, you need to align your actions with that purpose. So I had a different idea of what my purpose was previously, and then, like, now I've kind of sussed out what my purpose is, and it's a matter of the changes, or a certain aspect of changes come in aligning my actions with that purpose. So certain things I was doing, which I thought had aligned with my previous idea of my purpose, actually take away from what I genuinely think is now my purpose. So putting the thought and the effort into finding your purpose then cuts out all the bullshit, because everything you do is streamlined in alignment with what you view your purpose as being.
That's very philosophical knowledge. But no, yeah, it's definitely about questioning yourself and finding your purpose. And at the end of the day, doing whatever the fuck you want, whatever makes you happy. And if you're honest with yourself, then you can motivate yourself, because it's something that you actually care about. It's, something you find purpose in doing. And I think that's the key. Because, once you have that purpose mindset, everything is achievable. It's just a matter of whether you want it enough, like if your why is strong enough, like why am I doing it? And yeah, I think it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, I guess. Purpose is purpose.
Self-fulfilling prophecy in a good way, because sometimes that can be a bad way.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you make it something that you want to do, something positive, then it's a positive thing.
Sure.
Things can always be taken negatively.
Yeah.
But it's a personal thing. It's up to the person and how they want to take an approach to it. So, the power is in the people.
The power to the people on Makanda. But I like...
Wakanda forever.
It's definitely like the key point ultimately for me is just to start the journey of finding your purpose, because it's fucking hard to like try find your purpose, but if you start that journey, then you're pushing yourself towards your purpose. You're actively going out and pushing yourself towards your purpose. Whereas I think for a lot of people, a lot of Kiwi millennials, they have not even contemplated what is my purpose, and so none of their actions align with like the reason they are here on this planet. And that's that may be, have rather large consequences as to the experience of that person's life. So like, if you're listening to this, just, make an effort to start that process. And because I think we've both done it to some extent. Like, I don't know, like, again, I don't know if the idea of finding your purpose is like a finite thing, because in 10, 20 years time, I might think that I have a different purpose on this planet. But I guess the idea of this podcast was we have put ourselves in situations where we learn through experience, we learn about ourselves, and then from there, you're putting energy through learning about yourself, you're putting energy into aligning yourself with your purpose on this planet. Whereas if you don't put any energy into it and you go to work every day, you study every day, and then at night you're just with a whole bunch of people drinking, partying, playing games, or even just occupying all your time with sport and whatever else it is. If you don't take the time to learn about yourself and grow within yourself, then you're not putting energy towards finding your purpose, and your actions, your beliefs, your ideals, your reason for living don't align with the purpose.
Yeah, I think just the quick key point, like your current purpose, because things change, people change, ideas change. So, as long as you're working towards what you believe is your purpose at that current time, then that's all that matters.
Indeed, you got I don't know if you can top anything I've said there, Big Bonds. I don't know if your piece of final information, your piece of final wisdom can topple any of those brushstrokes. But I'll give you a quick, fire second just to see if you can come up with anything. See if you can salvage your respect as a young Kiwi millennial. as the dropper of last minute motivation, proclamation, inspiration
It's the old.
for the
I think
nation.
we'll take it back just to the idea of consistency and the idea of moving mountains, which seems impossible, but mountains can be moved a rock at a time, and that's the most powerful thing, is having that mentality that all mountains are movable. One rock, one piece of dirt at a time. I don't know if you want to wrap that up in a little bow.
I think you've actually topped it all, because that sounds like some shit from like an ancient Chinese proverb or something like that.
It probably most certainly is.
So that's like,
But
that's a piece of wizardry.
It remains true though. Hasn't changed after thousands of years.
Like, here I am talking about, just 2018 human sort of shit, and you just come out last moment, overtime, in the clutch with some ancient wisdom.
Have an eternal spirit, my friend.
That's what he does. That's what Only Hunger is all about. South Auckland, we're just here living. We're here living, whereas Only Hunger has the roots in history, has the Buddhist, the Chinese, the ancient Wakanda wisdom coming at you. This is the silly Kiwi Millennial podcast. Another episode done and dusted. Tell a friend.
Later.
Do the thing.
Later. Yeah.
And we'll catch you up.
Yo. Later, Paul.
Got a gap.